All right. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. We have people tuning in from all over the continent, all over the world, really. And we are very excited to welcome you to the official launch of the Fire Grant Challenge. And so many of you here have supported the development of this initiative over the last 2 years. Others are new faces who we're really excited to have engaging now, potentially applying to the challenge or looking to partner or learn more. And I can speak for the whole team and all our partners when I say that we are so thrilled to have you all here today as we kick off this initiative. And so we've got a great program for you today. We're going to be sharing details about the challenge and hearing from a lot of great people. These include the co-founder of Conservation X Labs, some of our supporters who have made this possible, and also distinguished experts in the fire space who will be taking part in today's panel about drawing on multiple spheres of knowledge to create new and innovative solutions to fire management. And so we are also going to be outlining the application process and exciting opportunities available to participants and partners. And so before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge with deep respect and appreciation that the lands on which our work took place are the unceded ancestral homelands of Indigenous peoples. And so our work in California, we acknowledge the Washoe tribe of the Lake Tahoe Basin, the Miwok of Tamales Bay, the Ramaytush Ohlone of San Francisco Peninsula, and here in the greater Washington, D.C. area, the Piscataway. And so we hope to honor the ancestral stewards of these lands. And through this project, we recognize and are dedicated to supporting the resilience of Indigenous people across the continent and planet today. And so a couple last details. Please ensure that your microphones are muted during the presentation, just to avoid any background noise. And if you have any questions, just please go ahead and leave them in the Q&A section, and our team will be working live to address them. And also, if you want to leave any comments or other thoughts, we'll appreciate it, and we'll incorporate those into future webinars and Q&A sessions. And so with that, I think we're ready to get started. And so our first speaker today is someone who doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. This is Dr. Paul Bunje, the president and co-founder of Conservation X Labs. And so Paul is a global thought leader in bringing innovation to some of the toughest environmental challenges. And Paul founded and led the UCLA Center for Climate Change Solutions. He served as the chief scientist at the X Prize Foundation. And Paul was also a AAAS fellow, along with our other co-founder, Alex Dagan. And they were named by the American Association for the Advancement of Science as one of the top 40 individuals that best exemplify the thousands of AAAS fellows who are dedicated to applying science to serve society. So let's go ahead and welcome Paul Bunje today. He's been helping us with the project, and we're lucky to have him here. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Liam. Thank you so much, and welcome everyone. Hello, hello, hello. So excited all of you are joining us. As Liam said, I'm Paul Bunje. I'm the president and co-founder of Conservation X Labs. And on behalf of my co-founder and our CEO, Alex Dagan, and the entire Conservation X Labs team, I am so pleased to welcome you to the launch of the Fire Grant Challenge. So today marks the beginning of an incredible journey. The Fire Grant Challenge is an open call for visionary solutions that will transform how we manage and live with fire. We are offering over $630,000 in prizes and support to innovative projects that merge cutting-edge technology with Indigenous and local knowledge. So at Conservation X Labs, we really believe in harnessing the power of open innovation in order to tackle the world's toughest problems. In fact, we founded Conservation X Labs because the speed and scale of the biodiversity crisis really does require bold new solutions to some of the planet's greatest threats. We believe in our heart about the need for technology and innovation to come together with these other forms of knowledge and help power truly exponential solutions to these environmental challenges. And those innovations, those brilliant and breakthrough ideas, they can come from anywhere. But while talent is everywhere, opportunity is not. And this is why we launch global challenges such as the Fire Grant Challenge, in order to harness the transformative ideas of anyone, in order to advance cutting-edge technology, and in order to convene interdisciplinary communities and leverage the power of the marketplace in order to confront our planet's most pressing challenges. Now, fire, that's a natural part, in fact, of many ecosystems, but it's becoming an increasing threat due to climate change and human activities. Our goal here is to reimagine fire management by combining traditional wisdom with groundbreaking technology and modern science to restore fire to its rightful place in ecosystems and communities. The increasing frequency and intensity of wildfires are not just devastating our landscapes and communities, but they're also causing irreparable harm to our biodiversity and ecosystems. In fact, today, over 500 million acres in the United States alone have a high threat from wildfire. To put that in perspective, that's more than 5 times the size of the state of California. But it's beyond just the United States and North America. As we've seen in recent years, wildfires have become a global crisis. From Indonesia to Ireland, from Australia to the Amazon, fire is a growing threat exacerbated by climate change, deforestation, and all kinds of different human activities. Fires will destroy homes and communities, displace families, take lives, but their impact on our natural world is equally catastrophic. So it's with this urgency in mind that we're launching the Fire Grand Challenge. We are challenging innovators, scientists, technologists from all backgrounds and from around the world to bring forward groundbreaking solutions to prevent, manage, and mitigate wildfires. The Fire Grand Challenge, this is your chance to be at the forefront of wildfire resilience. We're seeking innovative ideas ready for field testing, solutions that can scale beneficial fire practices, and technologies that deepen community engagement, all together in order to transform how we approach wildfire resilience and biodiversity conservation. I must say, as Liam mentioned, the Fire Grand Challenge is an effort of so many, the U.S. Agency for International Development, ESRI, Planet, and many more, who will provide resources and guidance throughout the competition challenge in order to help advance and scale solutions throughout. I want to take a moment to mention a really core reason why Conservation X Labs is doing this. A core aspect of the Fire Grand Challenge is its focus on biodiversity. Wildfires, we know they threaten human lives and property, but they also pose a significant risk to significant risk to wildlife, and their habitats. Preserving biodiversity is critical for maintaining the health of our ecosystems and the services they provide. Whether through advanced early detection systems, new firefighting technologies, methods to restore and protect fire-impacted ecosystems, or something completely novel, we are open to all ideas that can make a tangible difference for biodiversity and humans. And we're particularly interested in solutions that address the intersection of wildfire management and biodiversity conservation, ensuring that we can protect the incredible variety of life that sustains our planet and, of course, us. Today, we're calling on innovators, researchers, entrepreneurs, and conservationists from all corners of the globe to join us in this endeavor. Because a breakthrough solution could come from anyone, we encourage you to bring your unique background, whether in tech or cultural fire, or engineering or forestry. Your participation is crucial, and your ideas could be the key to preventing the next catastrophic wildfire and ensuring resilience in the face of those that have come before. So join us by applying to the Fire Grand Challenge. Once again, in closing, I want to express my gratitude to all of our partners, all of those that have helped us along, design and work this together, our sponsors, participants throughout who have made the Fire Grand Challenge possible and will continue to power it over the next many, many months. Your support and commitment are invaluable. Thank you to all of you, our collaborating communities, and especially to all of you innovators for your commitment to transforming how we interact with fire. Let's embark on this journey with determination and hope, because together we can drive forward solutions that not only address today's challenges, but pave the way for a more resilient and thriving planet. So now, to officially launch the Fire Grand Challenge, enjoy this video that sheds light on the current crisis and the urgent need for innovative solutions, and then join us on this transformative journey together.
Fire, a natural, integral part of many of Earth's most critical ecosystems. But on a rapidly changing planet, it is becoming an increasing threat to nature and humanity alike. Just as human-driven changes, such as habitat destruction, fire suppression, and climate change have made fire more dangerous, human ingenuity can help us reimagine and remember how to live and thrive with fire. Conservation X Labs is seeking brilliant ideas from anyone, anywhere, to transform how we manage and live with fire, to ultimately restore fire to its appropriate place in natural and social dynamics.
Wildfire has become something that is touching so many people globally in different ways that there's a lot of interest in it, in a way to harness that momentum into something that's really productive and exciting and promising with long-term impact for future generations.
By braiding together traditional and rural knowledge with cutting-edge technology and innovation, we will advance positive, measurable outcomes for biodiversity, ecosystem health, and community well-being.
My people used fire, and we used fire as a tool, so what motivates me is to be able to teach others how to use it and eventually change policy.
With the support of the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, Esri, Planet, and USAID, we are excited to launch the Fire Grand Challenge. Join us in transforming how we live and thrive with fire.
All right, and with that video, the Fire Grand Challenge is officially launched. I think I can speak for all of us when I say that you can feel the difference in the air. And so thank you, Paul, for the inspiring words. And next, we're actually honored to have one of the stars of the video with us. So that'll be Jenny Biggs. And Jenny, just to give a quick introduction, is the head of the Wildfire Resilience Initiative at the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, which has awarded over $50 million in grants to transform fire in Western North America from an unwanted and destructive force into a vitalizing element in our landscapes. And so over the past few years, Jenny has been a consistent and effective leader in the fire space, and it's really hard to overstate the influence that she's had. To give just one example, Jenny helped create the Wildfire Resilience Funders Network, which is a coalition of over 80 funders dedicated to decreasing the impacts of destructive fire, and CXL is fortunate enough to be a part of it. And so Jenny's going to share some insights into the Moore Foundation's commitment to wildfire resilience, its amazing achievements, and the innovative solutions that they support. And so let's welcome Jenny Biggs. We're really lucky to have her, and it's been an honor to work with her over the last few years.
Thank you, Liam. That is so nice. And hello, everyone. It is such an honor to be here with you today. I just want to start by saying thank you so much for being a part of this. And for those I haven't been lucky enough to meet before, as Liam said, my name is Jenny Biggs, and I'm the program director for the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation's Wildfire Resilience Initiative. Just by way of background, at the Moore Foundation, our founders, Gordon and Betty Moore, asked us to focus on the big, important challenges where their resources, our philanthropic dollars, could help deliver significant, meaningful change. And to realize their vision, a vision of positive outcomes for those generations of the future, we look both to novel, seminal science and technology and to time-tested holistic knowledge and ways of understanding. So with that in mind, and at a time when we see so many extreme wildfire events worldwide, with ecosystems being decimated and smoke traveling across miles, towns evacuated, and worse, addressing these challenges of 21st century wildfire has become increasingly important to the work that we do at Moore to support scientific research and environmental conservation around the world. And that's why we launched the Wildfire Resilience Initiative, to help support and accelerate a transformation in the role that fire plays and is perceived to play in Western North America, from that unwanted destructive threat to a vitalizing element in our landscapes. And we see the Fire Grand Challenge as advancing that goal, providing creators and innovators with opportunity to combine place-based knowledge and cutting-edge technology, all with an aim to transform how we live with and can even thrive with fire. And we say thrive because we know that fire is a natural part of many of the ecosystems and cultures across Western North America. It can play a critical role in maintaining biodiversity, fostering new growth, and sustaining healthy fire-adapted landscapes. But we also know the increasing frequency and intensity of severe wildfire poses a significant threat to our communities and the natural resources that we depend on. And that's why we believe we need a fundamental paradigm shift to restore fire's appropriate ecological and cultural function. So the Fire Grand Challenge will elicit and support creative solutions that address the full complexity of wildfire management. And we are especially interested in solutions that don't just reduce the immediate threat of wildfire, but also promote long-term resilience. And this includes technology innovation, project finance innovation, and innovative ways to elevate the role and knowledge of Indigenous and rural practitioners. And we are just so grateful for the opportunity to support this challenge and cannot wait to see the fantastic ideas and solutions that are going to emerge. Together, you all can make a significant and measurable impact in enhancing wildfire resilience and creating healthier, more resilient ecosystems. And so with that, I just want to say a great big thank you to Conservation X Labs, a special thank you to Paul and to Liam and Marion for your time today, to the amazing panelists who are here and joining. we just know how much creativity and thought fuels these challenges and these conversations, and are deeply grateful. I also want to say a final sincere word of thanks to each one of you who is tuning in to this launch event. And here we go. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jenny. And I also can't say thank you enough to Jenny and to the rest of the team at Moore. They've really done so much to support the challenge. And also, I think through their work, they really exemplified the spirit of collaboration and cooperation that the field needs and that we're trying to foster through the challenge. And so with that, next we have Dr. Marion Adeney, the Director of Amazon and Fire Programs here at Conservation X Labs. And just to give a little bit of background on her, Marion is a trained fire ecologist, and prior to joining CXL, she served as a program officer at the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation and as an environmental science advisor for USAID in Lima, Peru. And so we're lucky to have her on our team here. She's been really working hard to bring this challenge to everyone. And I'll leave it to her to provide an overview of the Fire Grant Challenge, its mission, and how we aim to transform fire management by bringing together Indigenous and rural knowledge, cutting-edge technology. So please welcome Marion.
Thank you so much, Liam. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone on the East Coast. And thank you so much for joining us today. We are really thrilled to be launching this Fire Grant Challenge with all of you. And it's been quite a journey to get to this point. And I also want to especially thank Jenny and the Moore Foundation for their support and leadership around fire in general, and the context we're facing today, and this challenge in particular. Fire inspires passion in many people. It's a transformative force on so many levels. As the great fire historian Stephen Pine has pointed out, fire is an integral part of living landscapes, and it's a tool that has enabled so many benefits for people throughout the history of humanity. In fact, the ability to harness fire is one of humanity's oldest inventions, and one that allowed us to evolve into the dominant species that we've become on Earth. As may be true for many of you, I've always been a bit of a firebug myself. From being the kid that always wanted to build a fire during the family camping trips, still am, to studying tropical and landscape fire ecology throughout graduate school, to participating in prescribed burning in the longleaf pine savannas of North Carolina, to co-designing grants on fire with partners during my years at the Moore Foundation and USAID. Fire has always been something that I've been drawn to. And in my years working on conservation in the tropical forests of the Amazon and Indonesia, I've seen firsthand the destructive power of fire when used inappropriately and when combined with changing land use patterns and the climate that we're now facing. Here at home in California, something changed for me and for so many of us on the morning of November 8th, 2018. I stepped out of my home in Pacifica, south of San Francisco that day, and wondered why the air smelled so strongly of smoke. I didn't yet know that it was the campfire, which would go on to burn 150,000 acres, destroy 18,000 structures, and take 85 lives as it leveled the town of Paradise, California. That fire transformed our collective understanding of the destructive power of fire and the need to reimagine how we live with it. The Fire Grant Challenge is one answer to this dilemma. At Conservation X Labs, we believe that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. Indigenous, traditional, and rural communities have stewarded ecosystems with fire for generations, for millennia, and the rapid development of cutting-edge and breakthrough technologies holds enormous potential. We know that it will take broad coalitions working across different sectors, cultures, and understandings to address the great environmental and social challenges of our time, and we need the ideas and talents of everyone, everywhere, working together to face these. As you've heard, the Fire Grant Challenge is one such opportunity to bring together different and complementary sources of knowledge and practice to reimagine how we live with fire. So we designed this challenge through an in-depth participatory process that I think many of those on this call today participated in, supported by the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, that brought together fire practitioners, scientists, Indigenous, traditional, and rural people, civil society, government, donors, the private sector, and others. Together, we broke down critical issues that people face around fire across 3 global fire and biodiversity hotspots: Western North America, the Amazon, and Southeast Asia. Despite the obvious contextual and ecological differences in these regions, we found so many challenges in common. We synthesized these into 2 topics with broad applicability that are relevant for bringing together different types of knowledge and practice that can be best addressed with the challenge model. Our hope is that we will be able to run this challenge in all 3 regions and that the solvers and solutions can learn from each other. The first challenge theme focuses on scaling innovative ecosystem stewardship with locally appropriate and economically feasible practices that protect biodiversity and cultural resources and ecosystem health throughout the fire cycle. We're looking for innovations that can help restore fire to its appropriate place in ecosystems and society, and that can improve the capacity of communities on the front lines to carry out this stewardship. Solutions may decrease the risk of damaging fire, decrease the cost of restoration or mechanical thinning or biomass removal, and promote the use of beneficial fire where appropriate. The second challenge theme focuses on solutions that bring together or translate diverse sources of knowledge or information to proactively manage fire risk, to promote transparency, and to ensure that relevant, timely, and actionable information is accessible to all. This is a challenge we saw across all of the geographies, which is amazing in our information age. Solutions can incentivize information exchange across scales and sectors, and really importantly, again, bring together or braid together the different types of knowledge, from place-based, local, and traditional knowledge to cutting-edge technology, data, and integrate those in systemic approaches. All of the solutions must demonstrate positive, measurable outcomes for biodiversity, ecosystem health, and human well-being. And as you'll hear from Liam in a few minutes, you can find more detailed information about the themes in the Fire Grand Challenge Handbook, and our team will be available throughout the challenge application process for questions and support. Throughout the challenge development process, people ask me so many times, why do a challenge instead of one of the many other mechanisms that we have available to affect change? There are 3 primary reasons that have really risen to the fore through this process for me, and they also encapsulate the goals of the challenge. The first reason is the solutions themselves. This is often what people think about when they think about a challenge, and it's critical. Through a challenge, we can develop and bring forward solutions that might not be recognized or found or developed in any other way. And this is especially important in this challenge where we're emphasizing bringing together people who might not otherwise work together and types of knowledge that are not always recognized, such as indigenous and traditional and rural practices. The second reason is exactly that piece, flows out of the first. The partnerships and deep collaboration that can result from this challenge are a huge part of the benefit of the challenge itself. Because we are including a field testing and acceleration component, we expect that the challenge will result in deep and lasting collaborations that build capacity. The challenge teams and participants will learn from each other. This community of practice is one of the most important outcomes of the challenge. Finally, we use a challenge for the excitement, attention, optimism, and investment that they bring. At Conservation X Labs, we've run 17 challenges and supported innovators from all over the world. These innovators have gone on to collectively raise over 30 times the approximately $12 million that Conservation X Labs has invested in them. Challenges bring high level of visibility to an issue. They can create a sense of optimism around what we can collectively achieve and raise the bar for our ambitions. With all that we're facing in today's world, we need more opportunities for excitement and hope. I'm going to close there, and I'll be back a little bit later to talk to you about how you can collaborate with us. But for right now, I want to leave you with this amazing panel. Together, they bring deep wisdom and expertise to this discussion, and we are thrilled and honored to have each of them here with us today.
Thank you so much, Marion, for that introduction. And as Marion said, I'm going to get into the details of the challenge structure and the timeline and how to apply and more fun stuff later on. But first, I have the honor of introducing the first member of the panel and our moderator today. And so he is a pioneering environmental journalist and National Geographic Society advisor with over 40 years of experience in exploring and communicating sustainable solutions. Andrew Revkin, our moderator, has produced award-winning stories from the North Pole to the Amazon and has been an influential voice in environmental journalism. He was a reporter and author of the award-winning blog for the New York Times and often covered wildfires in Western North America during that time. And he has also written the influential book, The Burning Season, on fires in the Amazon. So please welcome me in please join me in welcoming Andrew Revkin, who we are very lucky to have with us today.
Oh boy, it's really exciting to be part of the rollout of this grand challenge. It kind of the approach that is taken by you all and all the partners is fantastic. Careful analysis of the landscape of the problem and potential solutions, but not with a sort of a blindered part of sort of way of looking at where the solutions might come from, which especially in an issue like this that transcends technology and traditional ways of thinking and the Western sciences and has to get into the political science and social sciences as well. It's a great template, and the successes you've had so far obviously illustrate the power of this approach. I tossed a couple links in the chat for anyone who wants to look later. My journalistic journey, as you heard, kind of in thinking about fire solutions, I got to go back to 1989 when I was in the Amazon in the western reaches of the Brazilian part of the Amazon rainforest, riding in the back of a pickup truck with some rubber tappers, traditional dwellers on the land, not indigenous, but who had been brought in the 19th century, early 20th century, and were being assailed by ranchers, murderous assault on the forest and everyone who lived there, indigenous or these kinds of people. And in the back of this pickup truck, one of the surviving compatriots of Chico Mendes, as we were heading to blockade a chainsaw crew, he kind of looked up and he said, the trouble always starts in the burning season. That's obviously became the title of the book. I knew right then as I was scribbling it in my pad. But it illustrates what was so unique. What really got to me in the Amazon at that time was the understanding that what we think of as environmental problems are fundamentally social challenges too. All the forces that were driving change in the Amazon at rates that were tremendously destructive involved everything you can think of, from history to indigenous knowledge to diplomacy, and they're still being worked out now. A reality now, of course, is that there is no burning season to a certain extent in the American West and North American West for sure. It's pretty much a year-long challenge we're seeing right now. We're in the heart of it with the Park Fire, 400,000 plus acres, which luckily is mostly good fire in a way. It's burning areas. Some of those areas have not burned in generations, so the fuel load is horrific. I was at the Los Angeles Times in the 1980s, my New York Times reporting and blogging in the 90s through the first decade of the aughts. I was increasingly covering that landscape of not just climate change and community change, but also the reality that we were building what some geographers call an expanding bullseye of vulnerability and exposure in these regions that historically, evolutionarily, were designed in a way to burn. The grand challenge, of course, now is how do you break those old path-dependent norms, moving from suppression and exclusion to, as we heard earlier, living with fire, even thriving with fire. I can't think of a bigger opportunity and challenge. And I see bright prospects for success here because one of your core partners, the Moore Foundation, I got to know their work in a very different environment in the Arctic, where through a 5-year stretch, they funded a relationship building project between academic climate researchers and Inupiat researchers Inupiat experts living in Kotzebue in the Arctic shore of Alaska, who are facing dangerous change with their seascape as climate change and other factors are creating vulnerabilities that weren't there before. And that whole effort speaks of the same kind of collaborative, finding ways to nurture the cross-cutting relationships. The Moore did it then, and right now with Moore and the other partners, you're poised to do this here. I want to get right into this conversation with Beth Rose and Bill Clerico, who will share their perspectives on bridging tradition and technology for innovative approaches to managing fire. We're going to start with Beth Rose Middleton Manning, who I'm pleased to meet here. You were on my list of people to interview about wildfire management in the West, and I haven't gotten to you yet. So here we are. As for those who don't know, Beth is a professor of Native American Studies at UC Davis. She has a PhD in environmental science and policy and management. Her focus is Native environmental policy and activism for site protection, and her research spans environmental and climate justice, fire policy, intergenerational trauma, Native land stewardship, and Afro-Indigeneity. So it's great to connect with you here, and I'm glad you're part of this conversation. If Beth can come on screen, that would be great. And we can get started.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, I'm glad that the organizers put this together. So I usually start, when I do a webcast, I start with, we don't have time for the full question today, but how did you become who you are so far? What I want to do is distill that a little further. What drives you to focus your work life on the history and practice of living with fire in the West? Why
thank you
fire?
for that question. Yeah, thank you. Well, I will say one of my mentors was Farrell Cunningham, Yatam Mountain Maidu traditional practitioner. And one day I was walking with him on the Maidu Stewardship Project, which was one of the first, if not the first, forest stewardship pilot projects led by a non-federally recognized tribe in California. And it was an opportunity to apply Maidu traditional practices on an area of land within their homeland that was under Forest Service jurisdiction. And he said to me, look around, we're writing our history on the landscape. And then we had a lot more conversation about that, thinking about how we express our values, what we care about, what we feel responsible for and to in the condition of the land around us. And, where we were walking, there was a lot of underbrush. It was very overgrown. It was dry. And the idea of bringing back traditional stewardship was both an impetus for encouraging greater justice, thinking about this history of, removing people from their homelands and removing people from the ability to do traditional practices, carry out traditional responsibilities, and also about healing people and landscape at the same time. So when the thinning was happening, when we were working towards bringing back fire, the landscape started to look healthier, and it started to reflect a healthier mindset, I think, of connection and care and relationality with the place. So that kind of, speaks to some of how I came to this work. I also grew up in a rural area of the Sierra Nevada, further south in Miwok country. And, fire is something that I think a lot of people who live in the country are either concerned about, afraid of when fire season comes, or are engaged in throughout the year doing some sort of burning and thinning. And I'm speaking of non-Indigenous people at this point as well. And so fire is just the ever-present part of the landscape, whether or not you're thinking about it from an ecological point of view, and a fire evolved with landscape, a cultural point of view of relationality with fire and different species and place and identity, or an economic point of view. There are all these layers of understanding, but fire is part of who we are, and it's part of this place. So I think we have to come into a healthier balance.
Now, when you think of these words, grand challenge, and you think about words like tradition and technology, what keeps you up at night when you think of how that relates to your understanding of the layers of impediment leading to scale? In other words, it's not like some of the other solutions we can think of in the world that are sort of a technology or fusion will solve the energy problem. This is a many-dimensioned beast. So what are the aspects of that are at the top of your list, the dimensions that would need to change to create to get along that path from challenge to opportunity?
I think part of it is recognizing tradition as technology, in part. So traditional stewardship is a form of technology, very nuanced form, in that you can almost, if it's done really well, you almost don't even necessarily notice, except that the landscape is healthy and there isn't catastrophic fire. So I think recognizing that the technology and tradition is important. And also, just to refer to this background we are sharing today, this is at the workshop with Chairman Ron Good in the Southern Sierra. He's a North Fork Mono leader who's been very generous with sharing his knowledge and experience with cultural fire. And my classes and I have been able to go out with him and burn many times. And one of the things he often says, when we talk about how do you know if it's successful? How do you know if, the plants are doing well, the landscape is doing well, that there's been positive impact from fire? He might say, look, do you see the weavers out here gathering? See this new basket that's been made? See this tradition being passed down between elders and young people? There are all these dimensions of benefit by which you can see the success of this landscape care and stewardship. I don't know if I got to your question.
You certainly did. I think, especially with that idea that traditional stewardship is a technology. That reminds me of what the experience I had running conversations with Inupiat elders in the Arctic and climate scientists, where part of the challenge and opportunity both was for them to find fluency to get away from norms like we think of an expert as someone with a PhD, or scientist. Who is a scientist? And I think the more we can break down some of those barriers, I think the better. I don't know if that feels resonant.
Absolutely. Yes. And kind of thinking about what is practical, what's something that people can do, on a regular basis on the landscape right around them. Sometimes some of the innovations that come out can be, excellent and very thoughtful and highly technical, but also out of reach for local practice and local economy, and not related to some of the justice dimensions of why we have these fire problems.
Yeah, but let's just briefly talk about that before we get to Bill. Some of this, there are justice elements here, and although the word justice sometimes gets people in their corners, like it immediately gets parts of communities feeling like they need to be in a defensive mode. And how is that overcome going forward, do you think?
Well, I think, no need to be defensive around the question of justice. I think we live in a context in which the injustice of removal of Indigenous peoples, or attempted removal, I should say, attempted removal of Indigenous peoples and practices is expressed not only in communities, but also on the landscape, with the overgrowth of underbrush, with, the unhealthy condition that you didn't see pre-invasion. So how do we find ways to address this today in a way that, that recognize that there are a lot of people living in these landscapes now, particularly in the wildland-urban interface. And I think there's a lot of dynamism and excitement even among non-Indigenous peoples in terms of how to engage in landscape stewardship and care. You see that with the fire safe councils and prescribed burn associations. I mean, there's a lot of energy around figuring out how we live better in these places. I think it's very important to recognize and defer to Indigenous knowledge and leadership in that space. And I think there's also room for multiple ways of engaging. When I drive in the forests here in the Sierra Nevada, I see the need for an all hands approach. There's so much overgrowth, there's so much underbrush, there's so much need for work and training, and for starting early with educating people about how they can be involved in really positive work that's restorative and helps maintain fire safe landscapes.
And I don't want to, you can't judge all the answers right away, but what would a pathway to success look like? If you wanted to wind the clock forward several years, what would make you feel like this project is heading toward a direction that feels right?
That's an exciting. I love thinking like that in terms of what does it look like for something to be very successful. I think Indigenous leadership will be key, some Indigenous-led projects. I think projects that engage people of all ages, especially some investment in training youth or capitalizing on kind of youth energy and excitement to do landscape stewardship. I think recognition of kind of the deep history of these issues. And earlier it was mentioned, that I think you actually said that these ecological problems are also always social issues. So responses to the challenge that reflect that those wicked entangled problems, that this is a social, cultural, ecological issue. There are justice dimensions. So how do we address all of those? I think inclusive engagement, we follow this idea in some of my projects of bidirectional learning, that when we come to the table, folks on campus, folks off campus, that everybody has expertise and knowledge and that we're cross-learning and learning from each other. So I have a project right now working with California Indian allottees who care for small areas of trust land. And we are always recognizing the expertise of the allottees, those land stewards in their lands and what they've seen change over time. And then we're also bringing that together with climate scientists who are showing these downscaled climate models, and showing trajectories from past to future. And then we have a dialogue and we kind of meet in the middle, honoring the knowledge of all parties. So I think that will be an important dimension. Things that are active where people can see changes on the landscape, such as the image behind me. Some of these different Indigenous-led projects have resulted in areas where fire behavior has changed. So the Maidu Stewardship Project, work by Amamutsun Tribal Band, and many others, when fires have burned through these projects, they've come out of the crown. It hasn't been as intense. So even if fire comes through, we have the evidence on the land that this stewardship has made a positive change.
That's just fantastic. I think that's a good vision, sort of a word picture to pause on. I'd love to get you on my webcast, Sustain Wet, to go deeper. All these things are journeys, and there's much more to say. And because we have a time constraint here, that may be it for the moment. One thing you did when you mentioned getting youth involved, I was thinking about the Biden administration's Climate Corps, which is sort of a takeoff on the Youth Conservation Corps and things from way back in the early 20th century. There certainly are pots of money that might be able to help drive some of that. And you also, of course, make me think of the writer William Gibson, who is credited with saying the future is here now. It's just not evenly distributed. So highlighting these key sort of examples that can be propagated is wonderful. Well, it's great to hear from you. And I'll be in touch about keeping the conversation going. And thank you again for all the work you're doing. Bill Clerico is with us as well. Bill is the founder and managing partner of Convective Capital. I love that. Convection, of course, being part of atmospheric physics and oceanic physics, too. He splits his time between San Francisco and Mendocino County. With this initiative, he's focusing on leveraging technology to develop new tools for firefighters, policymakers, utilities, insurance companies, in other words, the whole multidimensional landscape around managing fire better than we do now. Previously, he co-founded and served as CEO of WePay, a financial tech company acquired by JP Morgan Chase in 2017, which I'm presuming helped you initiate your work on Convective Capital. That's fantastic. He's an active angel investor with investments in over 50 seed stage companies. So Bill, if you can pop on your camera.
Hi, Andrew. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good. And it's good to quote unquote meet you here. And thanks for your involvement in all of this. So technology and innovation, as I was saying earlier, we think of those arenas mostly as widgets, an actual tool, an app. This seems like an arena where the grand challenge will require much more than discrete changes. We'll get your thoughts on that in a minute, but I want to ask you first, sort of like what I did a minute ago. What has driven you to apply your financial and other technological skills in the fire arena? Why fire? I think I know based on where you live, that might be part of it, but is there some bigger thought here?
Well, I think, for me, wildfire is just a really important phenomenon and a very natural part of the landscape, but catastrophic wildfire is not, and I think feels very important and impactful in terms of the cost that it exacts on people and on communities and on our country and on our world, on our climate. But at the same time, it also feels very solvable. It's sort of, for me, is a problem that is both large in terms of the cost that it exacts, but addressable, addressable in the span of a decade or 2 decades as we think about, what we can do to bend the curve on catastrophic wildfire back towards a healthy relationship with fire. And I think technology, is not the sole solution to that by any means, but I think is an important part of bending that curve. And the definition of technology is the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes. And so I think that while sometimes it can be pigeonholed as a widget, I look at it as, how do we sort of capture all of the knowledge and wisdom that's out there from research, from indigenous sources, from all the folks out there that have built this wisdom and knowledge, and how do we sort of capture it and apply it practically to the problem at hand? And I think technology is a part of that application. And sometimes that's software in an app, sometimes it's hardware, sometimes it's a way of working. But it's about that sort of capture and that application that makes me very interested.
Well, I can see that for sure. And I assume even in the world of startups and seed stage companies, they all start through some kind of ecosystem of people kind of popping together and certain kinds of expertise, having to connect with other expertise in order to drive innovation. There's a guy I had, oh my God, I'm blanking. I'll get to his name in a minute. A long time ago, I was at Santa Fe Institute, and there was someone there who talked about the ecosystem of innovation, like how that happens. And it feels like this grand challenge has the same architecture. Sometimes if you have a great scientist with a great idea, but he's not exposed to a sort of a financial person at the right time, nothing will happen. So can you talk about that process as it relates maybe to some of the convective capital projects?
Absolutely. I think that mixing of expertise and knowledge is so critical. Like when we think about investing at Convective, we think about not necessarily outlier people, but outlier teams. And what are the team of people around a problem that bring different skills and perspectives and views to be able to solve that problem. And maybe I'll cite a couple examples. One of our companies is a company called BurnBot that uses technology to make prescribed fire more scalable and safer. And the team there is a combination of technologists, of entrepreneurs, of firefighters and practitioners, prescribed burn practitioners. And it's only really through that combination of expertise that you're able to field a product that is, actually gets the job done and solves a problem and is also commercially viable. And so that mixing is so important. And one of the reasons we called our firm Convective, besides sort of the obvious relationship to fire, is that convection is the transfer of heat through the mixing of fluids. And so, I think similarly, a lot of our companies, we look for sort of this mixing of expertise, and I think in that there's a lot of magic.
That's so interesting. I did remember his name. It's Andrew Hargadon, and we were talking about the networked path to breakthroughs. Particularly in his case, it was about getting people with PhDs together with people in the financial world. He mentioned the history of this, even the steam engine in the 18th, 19th centuries had that same. It needed both components to come together to have that success. And how in your work, you still have to sort of have a payoff, at least with conventional companies. So how do you balance financial returns with social impact when you're thinking about things that where when I think of some of these technologies, they're not necessarily monetizable at the level a new microchip would be. So how does that play out?
Yeah, I think you need to the short answer is I think you need both. You need both a strong sense of mission and a desire for impact, and you also need a robust commercial business model. And I think when you can get both of those things right, there's sort of that's where the magic happens. If you look at research on companies that have strong senses of mission just outperform those that don't. There's been a ton of research around this topic. And why is that? Well, it's because a strong sense of mission attracts talent, it attracts capital, it attracts customers, it's motivating. I think people want to work on stuff that's important. And so, if you try to just build a profitable software company, I think you're gonna, particularly in this market, but in almost any market, your odds of winning against someone building a mission-driven company are a lot lower. So I think so the impact part is important. I think, conversely, the scalability of ideas and of technology and of operations, in a large part revolves around economics and financial success. And so I think, you can have a really well-intended idea or concept or approach, but that will only take you so far if you can't find ways to harness sort of the economic powers out there to scale that idea. And so many of our companies, think about who are the folks that are stakeholders in this context, and how can we solve real problems for them and create real value for them, so that our companies can get paid for that service and reinvest that money in their operations. And so many times that's utilities that have huge liability around starting catastrophic wildfire. Could be insurance companies that have exposure to this. Could be governments that spend state, local, federal, tribal, that have budgets and are see the repercussions of this. And so we really encourage our companies to try to solve very specific problems for that, so that they can build healthy businesses as well. And if you can combine that impact with that sort of economic engine, I think you can get really scalable solutions that can have a big impact.
Great. Well, I have lots of takeaways, thoughts already emerging from here. There was some back channel conversations about getting Beth Rose back for one, so we can kind of close out with kind of framing ideas from both of you. If someone could facilitate having Beth come on screen too, that would be great. I love some of these points. Mission does matter to companies' success, as we just heard. Beth made a really important point about recognizing traditional stewardship as a technology. Drones are too. And this is really what we're talking about here is catastrophic fire, as Bill just said. Fire is normal. Living with it is essential. And the key here is to mitigate the risks of catastrophe. And as I've been writing in every arena I cover, whether it's earthquakes, climate change, climate vulnerability, risk is the hazard, but you also have to have exposure and vulnerability. And those are the elements you can work. All three, you can mitigate the hazard, you can mitigate exposure and vulnerability. Can Beth come on?
I'm here. Hi.
Oh, you are? Oh, good. I couldn't see. I don't have my screen set up. So you had some thought, just one sort of last thought, building off of what Bill was saying, and maybe Bill has a closing thought, building off what you've been saying. You were talking about the need to get multi-benefit solutions.
Yes. So one thing, for a long time, there's been discussion of the three-legged stool, like environment, economy, equity. I think also could be added to that culture to recognize indigenous, place-based, traditional knowledge solutions. I work with a nonprofit called Sierra Institute that has been really engaged in thinking about these multi-benefit solutions. So for example, in a rural forested area, northern Sierra Nevada, Mountain Maidu country, where the Dixie Fire burned through, thinking through how to rebuild fire-hardened homes using local materials, salvage lumber, locally thin material, processing locally to make cross-laminated timber, employing local people to do that work. So you're kind of hitting all of these different aspects of valuing local woods work, local land stewardship, indigenous knowledge, and rebuilding back stronger with innovative materials developed and processed locally. So I think those types of inclusive solutions really hit on multiple benefits. So I hope we can find ways to support those. What do you think, Bill?
I totally agree. I think those are the types of solutions that are grounded in deep wisdom and deep knowledge about how these systems and places work. And I think the role of technology is not to interrupt that or in any way hinder that, but really how do we think about augmenting that and scaling it and taking that wisdom and those practices and can you incorporate them in tools and processes and systems so that they can have an even broader impact. And so I think there's a lot of work to be done to bring those worlds together, and that's why I'm excited about this challenge and its work.
This is great. Well, I do think as this goes forward, I'd love to have both of you on my Sustain What webcast to go a little deeper in this conversation. There's clearly much more to explore, but I think you've done a great job of laying out the dimensions of what those listening can pursue as they find out now how to pursue it. I think we're going to get into at the end. This is the end of our panel. Thanks again to both of you, and we're going to hear a little bit about the sort of nuts and bolts of how this will play out. And thank you all for having me be part of this.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And thank you to Beth Rose. Thank you to Bill. That was a really great conversation. And I think the exciting thing is that this is the first of many conversations. So you hear that there's already going to be more conversations on Sustain What with Andrew, but also throughout the challenge, there's going to be conversations between the challenge administrators and partners and you. There's going to be challenge between the different participants, between communities and other types of innovators. And so we're really excited just about the community of practice that this is going to make. And so now we're going to take a minute to dive down into the details a little bit. I'm going to tell you about the timeline. I'm going to tell you about the structure of the challenge. Hard to follow the panel, but this will be pretty quick. I'll hit the main important details, and I think it'll be interesting to all of you who are interested in getting involved. And so right off the bat, just to start, there are two main ways to get involved if you want to apply to the challenge. And so these are kind of two core parts of what we see as the innovation process in this sphere. And so the first is to be a technical applicant. You can apply if you have an idea for a solution or an innovation. So if you have an idea for a new tool or technology or process that fits within those sub-themes, then you can apply through the website. And I'll get into the details later on how to do that. And the second role is maybe you don't have a specific solution, but you're part of a community or a local group that has that local knowledge and those local ties. So maybe you're part of a local nonprofit or a governmental agency or, local school board. It could be anything really. But in that role as a partner community, what you're going to be doing is you're going to submit an interest form, and I'll explain more about this later on as well. And then you'll be paired with a technical applicant, one of the finalist technical applicants, to co-develop and execute their field testing plans. And so let me tell you a little bit more about the structure, and then I'll dive down deeper into what those two roles are. But I want you to keep those in mind as I talk about this structure and how you imagine being part of the challenge. And so first off, we're starting here on the left, August 8th. That's today with the challenge launch. You guys are here at the inception, which is very exciting. Thank you for joining us. And then this is going to kick off the open application period. And so during this period, we're going to be putting on different promotional webinars, different technical sessions too. We're going to be dedicated, along with our partners, to making sure that you have the resources needed to engage in the challenge. So there's assistance to help you apply. We're here to help you apply as well. You can reach out. There's going to be the handbook and other documents that give you all the details you need. And so up until December 2nd, we're going to be fielding applications. And we're also going to be doing outreach to different communities to recruit partner communities as well. And so during this process, you'll be submitting your applications, attending the sessions, and after this webinar, we're going to be sending more details on that. And then after applications are submitted and the deadline closes, then we're going to have a third-party evaluation panel that's going to evaluate all those technical applications. And so the people who are applying as technical applicants, their applications will be evaluated. and the technical or the evaluation panel will create a short list of the most promising innovations and technical applicants. And then at the same time, we're going to be evaluating all the interest forms from potential partner communities, and we're going to create a short list of about 8 or 10 different partner communities. And then we're going to go into January for a matchmaking process that's going to prepare us for the next phase, which is acceleration field testing. And so during the matchmaking process, the technical applicants who have their innovation ideas are going to explain what they need for field testing, how they would benefit from local knowledge, other needs, what they want to accomplish with their innovation. The potential partner communities are going to be explaining what their needs are, what their landscape's like, how they can support innovations, what different spheres of knowledge, indigenous, rural, or other place-based forms they're drawing on. And then these two different groups are going to rank each other, and then we're going to help facilitate good fit matches between them. And then once they come together and create field testing plans, they'll be named finalists. And each finalist team, right now we have the funding for 6 different finalist teams. Each team will be given $50,000 split between those 2 different parts, technical applicant and a partner community. And they're going to go into a 9-month-long acceleration period and field testing period. And so this is a really exciting part because that finalist cohort, we're going to be connecting them to different technical experts. We're going to be connecting them to partners that can help them kind of validate their solution, field test it, that can help them scale it. We're going to have a pitch day with potential follow-on funders coming in, including one of our partners, the BC Center for Innovation and Clean Energy, and other partners who we're in talks with that will have the potential to potentially invest. And so we're really excited just to pair you, innovators and communities, with the resources that you need to manage your landscapes and scale your ideas in the ways that you want. And so that acceleration period is going to include a whole suite of different programming, and it's going to be really fun to carry out. So that's kind of the overall process. At the end, we're going to have a awards ceremony. This is also going to be an innovation exchange kind of conference where you're once again going to be able to show off your innovations, connect with different partners, potential users, potential buyers, and come together and meet with other innovators in the space. And so all throughout this challenge process, we're going to be working to bring you together with experts and other collaborators and peers to learn from. And so now I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of those benefits. And so there, when you think about a challenge, you think about the prize and you think about how can I win this? What are my chances of winning this? And that's good. We want you to be competitive. We also are really going to foster collaboration too. And there's a lot of different opportunities to win. But I want you to think about some of the other benefits too that you get even from just applying. And so first off, you get access to experts and leaders in the fire space. And so we're going to be connecting you through these events to different people. There's going to be a lot of different networking opportunities. And part of that will also be collaboration and learning from your other communities, your other technical peers. And so just kind of connecting to a larger network. And so through that, we really want to be building this kind of deeper community practice that reaches across these different sectors. Because one of the main reasons we're doing this challenge is because cultural fire practitioners and indigenous practitioners and technology developers and other parts of the field, there isn't always that much interchange between them. And so we're really trying to break down some of those silos. Next is field testing and technical validation. So when you submit your application, it's going to be reviewed by a third-party panel of different evaluators. These are going to range from people from all different expertises. And so each application is going to be read by 4 to 5 different people. Your personal information won't be on it. And they're going to be giving feedback. They're going to be evaluating it. So you're going to get, I think, some pretty rewarding feedback just from submitting your idea. Next is mentorship on product and business development. If you do reach the finalist cohort, then we're going to be really working with you on developing your innovation. We're going to be working with you on studying what kind of environmental effect it has and any second order effects it might have, really kind of honing those impacts to get them where you want. We're going to be working on your business planning, financial sustainability. And then also as part of that, we're going to be directly connecting you to different users, scaling partners, and potential follow-on funders. And Marion showed you some of those numbers of how CXL in the past has connected our innovators to different follow-on funders. And so we really see that grant that we're giving you to participate as a finalist in those prize funds as kind of part of that seed, but also connecting you to that broader network to propel that. And so that first part, that $295,000, that's for 6 finalist teams. And so 5 of the teams, when one of those teams will be a dedicated team from Mexico. We have money from USAID for that. That would be $45,000. And we are also continuing to raise funds to expand that last finalist cohort for more teams to participate in the field testing acceleration. Next is $235,000 in technical and in-kind support. So as part of the finalist cohort, you're going to be receiving direct technical support from Esri and exclusive software licenses. You're going to be receiving exclusive satellite imagery and software from Planet Labs as well, and getting technical assistance from them. And then there's also going to be those in-kind contributions through the technical field testing and acceleration process, through all that expert input, all the partners work that's going to be done for you. And so we're really excited just about the whole community that's going to come together around that finalist cohort opportunity. And then lastly is $100,000 in grant prizes, which once again will likely grow throughout the challenge process as we continue to talk to other funders and expand the challenge coalition. So now just to talk a little bit about the different ways that you can apply to the challenge. I really want to flag first the Innovator's Handbook. And so this is a great read. It really is a one-stop shop for everything you need to apply to the challenge. And so I'm not just saying that because I've helped write it along with the team, but it's got information on the framing and the themes. It's got information on how we think about the fire crisis, information on who is eligible to participate in the challenge and what kind of innovations we're looking for. There's more information on how to apply and step-by-step process there. It's got the key dates, the evaluation criteria in the process. So that's really got everything there. And if you scan that QR code down at the bottom, which I'm going to be showing over the next few slides as well, then you can go to the website and you can find that handbook. And so before you slam that, apply now button, I'd really tell you to check out the handbook, look at what we're looking for and tailor your application to that. And that's going to give you the best chance of success to really participate well in this challenge. And so just to talk about now, there's two roles and how to apply. First off, I'm going to be speaking to the potential technical applicants out there. And so you're going to want to determine your eligibility. So think about the innovation or idea you have and think about its fit within the challenge themes and how you can fit it to it. It can be a process, it can be a tool, it can be approach, it can be a digital solution. And when we talk about innovations, we're talking about novel processes and tools, but we're also talking about tools that have been adapted from existing ones, but now we're incorporating local knowledge that are taking a different approach that's been significantly changed. And so that's part of it as well. And so your tool must be ready to be evaluated during the application process. And also it will need to be ready to be field tested within Western North America as well. So that could be Canada, United States, or Mexico. And so you will have to have a working prototype by that January or February deadline when we're going to be starting the acceleration of field testing process. And so to apply as a technical applicant, you're going to apply via a platform called Submittable, which is linked on the CXL website. And once again, I'll keep saying the date, December 2nd, 2024 at 5 p.m. Pacific time. That is when the application process or window will close. And so just to talk a little bit about the evaluation criteria that we're looking for with the applications. One is fit to challenge themes. That's once again that stewarding ecosystems and also synthesizing diverse knowledge. Those are the two themes. You can find more in the handbook about them. That's 10 points. And then one of the more heavily weighted items, innovative and transformative. Once again, this has to be an innovation, something new in some way. Next is value proposition and feasibility. It's got to be solving a problem that faces users across the region, and that is feasible to do so as well. Next is adoption scalability. We're looking for problems that can really help decrease destructive fire and steward our landscapes on a broader regional level. And so we want to be able to scale that up, even if it is community-based. Next is financial viability and long-term sustainability. And we're going to be, once again, through the field testing acceleration process, helping you fit these items, but we want to show how you have the potential for them with your innovation. And so with that long-term sustainability and financial viability, we're going to be looking for what are the markets available, what are the potential funding sources available, can you sustain this innovation after the challenge close? Next is impact, biodiversity, and nature. Because our central mission here at CXL is to try to solve the sixth mass extinction in the biodiversity crisis. We have a large focus on biodiversity, so we really want to see that represented. And so that's weighted with 20 points. Next is the impact in social and cultural effects. So how does this help communities steward their landscapes according to their cultural values? How does it help protect their safety, their health? And so that's an interesting element as well. And then lastly, with team and community collaboration, we're looking for teams with diverse expertise, with the skills needed to really kind of carry out the scaling process and to bring their innovation to fruition. And also we want them to be capable of collaborating with communities through that matchmaking and field testing and acceleration process. So that's just a quick overview. And Marion, my teammate, has put the email in the chat. And if you have any questions at all, do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help you. And so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the other role that you can apply as, which is a partner community. And so first off, determine your eligibility. We haven't even tried to list all the different potential partner communities here, but we're looking at different tribal government agencies or organizations. It could be rural associations or burn cooperatives. It could be local nonprofits, volunteer fire departments, really any kind of group that has local ties, local knowledge, and could help support in that co-developing and field testing process with technical applicants during that time period. So that time period is February to November 2025. So if you are interested in that, we urge you to reach out to us if you have questions. And also you can demonstrate your interest via the Google form. So if you're interested in being a partner community, then go to that Google form. You don't have to fill out the full technical application on the website. So if you're not sure which is which, please reach out to us. And also I want to flag that if you're a community, that doesn't mean that you can only apply as a partner community. If you have an idea or an innovation, please by all means apply as a technical applicant as well. And so once again, we can help you in figuring out which role is best for you. And so on the topic of partner communities, we also want to talk about some of the principles that we have for data security and sovereignty. And so just to talk a little bit about that, we have principles outlined in the handbook about how we are going to engage with Indigenous and rural communities. And we want to make sure that all of you know that challenge administrators and all participants are going to be following these principles. And we're going to be helping everybody involved in the challenge do so. And so these are principles for engagement with Indigenous and rural communities and their right to data sovereignty. And so we're going to be using the following frameworks: care and fair, focus on how we handle data. And then we're also going to be operationalizing USDA's principles for partnering in land management research with Indigenous communities. That kind of spells out how those two different frameworks, fair and care, come together, and how we're going to be making sure that every community that's involved, and every innovator that's involved, they have control of their data. They have control of what's done with that. They have control of their plan with scaling. And so we're really just making sure that every opportunity presented by the challenge is an opportunity for you to grow and use your data as is needed, because in so many cases, this data has been developed over generations. It has that inherent value. And so we're going to be really, really dedicated to protecting that throughout the challenge process. And so here on the next slide, just to talk about one last time, please check out the Innovators Handbook. It's got all the details. Also, if you have any questions, as we've said, please reach out to fire@conservationxlabs.org. I'm going to throw my own email out there as well. You can bother me directly. You can't bother me, though, because I want to hear from you. That's liam@conservationxlabs.org. And once again, that main deadline to remember is December 2nd, 2024. That is about 3.5 months from now. Sounds like a lot of time, and it is a good amount of time to apply, but we urge you to come reach out to us soon, talk to us soon, and we'll help you get you the resources you need to apply. And some of our partners as well are going to be helping provide assistance and support to Indigenous or rural communities who are interested in applying, but maybe have limited capacity to do so. And so please don't let anything be a barrier for you engaging. This challenge is made to try to help you and bring you the resources you need. And so we want to make it as easy as possible to do so. So please reach out. And to talk a little bit more about how other organizations can partner in different ways, I'm going to pass it off to Marion, my team member.
Thank you so much, Liam. Thank you for that. I know that was a lot of information, and Liam did a great job at summarizing that very quickly. So if you hadn't absorbed it all, this webinar will be recorded and you will have the opportunity to see it again. It's all in the handbook, and we are very happy to engage and take questions, etc. So please do reach out. So I'm just coming back at the close of this meeting to talk to you a little bit about the partnership opportunities. And we have 4 listed here. There may be other ways to partner that you may think of that we haven't thought of, and that's part of the nature of this challenge. All of the challenges that we do at Conservation X Labs are co-designed via our Think Ideation meetings, which I talked about earlier, and also by the engagement and calls and conversations that we've had with so many people throughout this challenge design process, and that will continue to happen. So these challenges are really, they are designed by and for and are dependent on this community of practice that we cultivate together. And I know that many of you on this call have already engaged with us and supported us and expressed so much enthusiasm and support for this challenge, and also asked hard questions, some of which we've really incorporated into the challenge design, and some of which we may still have thinking about to do. So we are grateful for that. In terms of the particular types of partnership activities, we are still looking for technical partners. We will need people to serve as judges. We will need advisors and mentors for communities and technical applicants. We will be doing series of conversations and webinars to guide applicants throughout the challenge process, and also during the acceleration component. And so technical contributions in the form of participation and content, such as the amazing panel that we had today, which I'm definitely going to go back to and listen to again, because there was so much there that we still need to absorb. Though that's all welcome. We also need amplification partners to really get the word out about this competition to all of the people who may want to participate. And on this point, I should note that this is a global competition. And though the community place-based partners need to be rooted in the focal geography for this challenge of Western North America, which includes Western Canada, Western US, and Mexico, the applicants and the collaborators can come from anywhere. So this is open to ideas from any part of the globe. And some of those ideas may be relevant to other parts of the globe. We need, on that note, scaling partners. Scaling partners can collaborate with communities or technical applicants to help scale these innovations, which may have diverse relevance in other geographies. And also we need partners to think about investing in some of these solutions. At Conservation X Labs, we do very much lean into the idea that we need solutions that work within the context of the private sector, that can be profitable and that can scale without having always dependence on other sources of funding. And that's not always the case, but we really encourage that type of solution. And so we also need those types of partners. And then finally, resource partners. So we would like to greatly expand the reach of this challenge by adding additional finalist slots across the vast Western North America geography. Our current resource partners, the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation and USAID, have been wonderful partners, but we would like to open this challenge up to additional collaborators for both financial and in-kind resources. And we are also working to make the launch of the Amazon and Southeast Asia components of the challenge a reality. So we hope that you will join us in whatever way works for you and whatever way you feel you can contribute. And we will be announcing some of these exciting new partnerships in the coming weeks and months as more organizations come on board. So I know we've done a lot of thanks in the course of this webinar. I can do a few more and they won't be complete, but I want to really, really thank the many, many people and organizations who have engaged and worked with us to build this challenge, and those that will be with us going forward. I want to thank our panelists today, who just lent so much richness and thoughtfulness to this webinar. I know there's a lot in terms of the technical part of what the challenge is and why we're doing it, but for me, it was really meaningful to slow down and hear those really thoughtful comments and discussions from the panelists. And I want to thank the communities in Western North America and across the world who are on the front lines of fire, both managing with fire, living with fire, and addressing and facilitating the positive impacts of fire and living also with the negative impacts of fire. This challenge is really for all of you. Fire touches all of our lives in both positive and negative ways. And this Fire Grand Challenge is our approach to bringing people together to reimagine how we live with fire, with the ultimate goal of restoring fire to its appropriate place in our natural and social dynamics. None of us can do this alone. This is a problem that's much too deep and complex for any of us, but through this challenge, we hope that we can come together and reimagine how we live with fire. So thank you for joining us. This is just the beginning, and we're so excited to continue to engage with you in the coming months.
Thank you, Marion. And as Marion said, this is the end of the event, but the beginning of the challenge and the beginning of the journey that it's going to take all of us on. So please, everybody in this call plays a role. You all have a place here in this challenge. Like we've said, everybody's diverse background brings something else to this issue and a piece of the solution. And so please engage, please apply, and please reach out to us if you have any questions at all. And so there's a QR code for the website that has the handbook, that has the links to apply, that is a contact form to get in touch with us. And so thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you very soon. Have a great one.